Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Taking Trades. UGAZ has gone crazy. I'm not sure how low we're gonna go with this. Everybody's feeling the pain. We need to figure out a plan for today. If you're playing DGAZ, good on you. If you're playing UGAZ, we gotta talk about a plan and some rules to stick to because it just keeps dropping lower. So we're gonna talk about the weather. We're gonna touch on it briefly and look at the forecast. Then I wanna shift to the charts and I wanna look at the support levels below where we are. There are a couple different charts we can look at to kind of get an idea of possible support levels, but all in all, it's just low and we need cold weather or it's just gonna stay low. There's no other way around it. So we need to talk about that today. We're gonna talk some other nat gas news, but we're gonna dive into it all, so stay tuned. Let's go. First thing I want to get into right now is /NG F20. This is the chart for natural gas futures we've been looking at and using for the past, month or so. Now let's look at this. Look at this 2.158. Just last week, we were hoping that we would not see any more of the 2.3s or the 2.27s, and then we gapped lower. So I've got the news tab on Thinkorswim. I was kind of checking things out. It's just talking about warm winter weather's prompting lower natural gas price forecasts. And I'm going to actually see where this one came from. I was doing a little research earlier trying to figure out exactly what's going on with the weather. I always go to natgasweather.com, and we'll do that again today. That's not loading up, so we won't worry about that. But let's look at a couple levels, and let's just see where things are right now. I'm just going to zoom out a tiny bit. But you can see on the January chart, we've got, all-time lows right here. So this isn't super helpful as far as creating support levels because there are none. We're at all-time lows on this chart. But if we just go to the regular /NG chart, you can see on this one, we've got some support levels below. So we might need to rely on these just a little bit to kind of see where we are, to see if we do have any possible support levels. And if I draw right now a line across here, does anybody see this support level? Drop down in the comments right now. Let me know if you see this support level and if you think it makes any sense. And I'm going to make this a solid line just so you can see it a little bit better. But that support level there, you can see we had a bounce down here and then kind of a breakthrough recover with another breakdown. Then it bounced up to it and then through it. We came back down, we tapped it here, we tested it again here, then a partial almost test there, and then we left for a while on that big bull run that we had. Now we've drifted back down, and look where we're sitting. Our doji is sitting right on that level. So could this be a support level for us? We might switch to this chart for the futures just to kind of maintain and follow these support levels and see what we have in terms of a bounce point. But right now, this looks like it's respecting it. So could it be a bounce point? I don't know yet. We'll have to wait a couple days and see what happens. Maybe we'll get a couple bounces here and then turn higher. But ultimately, the chart levels are where people are guessing and sort of saying, I'm going to build a position here because this could be a support level. But ultimately, the stamp of approval has to come from Mother Nature. We need cold weather to approve the uptrend. And that's really what we got to watch. So more important than any chart level is going to be the weather. Now, let's jump over real quick. I just want to look at UGAZ, and let's see what it's doing right now. So on this one, this is the part that's tough to see because it's all-time lows. This is it. And I might actually even just clear out all our drawings just because, I don't know, we don't need them right now. It makes it too busy and we're too low right now to even worry about it. So right now, I think the only support level or only thing I'll draw on here is going to be maybe like a little bit of a range right in here. I'm just going to leave those on. That's kind of a little range channel where we could get some overhead resistance. But right now, we're still dropping. So we opened up this morning at 791 after a really aggressive gap down. And the close at the end of last week was actually at 936. We then gapped down and opened at 791. So just a really, really big gap down, and now we're continuing lower. So right now I think it's about almost 2 o'clock on the East Coast, And so we've got a couple hours of the market still to go, and things are just still dropping. So I have no idea what is going to happen now because we're in uncharted waters. We have never been this low. This is an all-time low for UGAZ, and it doesn't have a support level below it right now. So really, again, to reiterate, we need the cold weather. If the cold weather continues to linger and stay warm, then we could just get a whole lot of chop of just nothing happening. But if we do get a blast, then we could start to see trends back to the upside. And there was something I was thinking about, and I wanted to mention this to you guys. If we're having a lot of warm weather and a lot of people are feeling the pain and things just aren't going well, expect that any, and I mean any hint of cold weather, and this thing's going to spike. It might be only for one day, but this chart and this product, being natural gas, is going to get very sensitive. If people are feeling the pain and we're just doing nothing because the weather's just warmish, anything that comes in that's cold, any news at all, even if it doesn't make sense, is going to cause a spike. So we need to be focused on, if a spike comes into the markets and you get a pop, immediately take off any shares that you can to help claw your way back to neutral, or if you have some profit, take it, or if you can just unload some shares and reduce your size and take a smaller loss, I would do that. These things are, again, things that I would do, not directing anyone to do anything. So always do your due diligence. Just use my information as additional information for your trades. But my experience, what I would do is to sell into any spikes that we get. If we get a big spike and say it's getting later in the week and you decide to hold over the weekend, don't be surprised if you wake up on Monday morning and you're back down at the low or even lower. These spikes could be infrequent and they could be short-lived if this winter stays sort of warmish and choppy the way things have been so far. Now, if we flip over to DGAZ, this is probably going to hurt a lot of people to see this, but if you were holding DGAZ, you were looking really good today. It's trading up at 183.56 after a massive gap up from a close of 155.79. So this is a very, very big trade, big upside for DGAZ. And if we go back to our /NGF20, this chart, you know, we'll keep an eye on this. On this chart, I just turned green at 2.21, but we have nothing to play off of. There's no other chart action. We're at all-time lows on this chart. So if we do go over and we decide to maybe just take and look at just /NG, let's see if it's green. So we're actually, yeah, that's coming back a little green, so that's a good sign. It's respecting the support level that we put on. So that's good. That's a decent sign. And then below that, as far as going lower, I mean, really, there's kind of another, I mean, I'll just draw them out. We've got the possibility of there and the possibility of here, and then sort of the possibility of here. So those are other support levels that could possibly come into play if we continue to drop lower. We've got one that could be roughly around 2.15. We could get one at 2.11 and then another one at 2.07. So anything probably above 2.05, that's probably our ultimate low as far as a support level. But if we break below that, which we could get another gap down and go lower than that, then, you know, we've got nothing. There's nothing else below it. And no, I'm wrong. I'm very wrong. So we've got some stuff playing way out here. Okay, wow. So we've got some 1.61s. I didn't even see these. So this is very interesting stuff we've got out here. If we go to the daily chart and look way back, you can see that we had a low of 1.611, and then we've got some other support levels around 1.75. You know, hopefully we don't have to worry about these. There's another one right around 2, so that might be a strong support level. But again, we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to just keep watching this and just watching the weather like a hawk. So with that being said, let's jump over to natgasweather.com. Let's look at the weather report and let's see what's on the horizon. Because remember, we always talk about how whatever is 14 days out, that's the most important. That's going to affect price action right now. So if this price action is dropping and we're low, that means that the weather right around us or out to the 14 days is warm, is not looking cool. Now, as we move days along and that wet, warm weather starts to get closer to us in days, then the 14-day forecast, if we see a decrease in temperature, we're likely going to get a pop-up in price. So let's jump over and do that now. All right, let's get into this. We got natgasweather.com. We're looking at their website. They had a 2019 end of seasons. They had a natural gas storage forecast competition, and they announced their results here. So they don't really normally have that in this position. So we actually don't have their forecast for the day that I can see. I always like to read their little clip that they put right at the very beginning of the web page. That kind of gives you an indication as to what the weather's looking like in the near future. But what we can do is we can go to weather maps right here, and we can drop down to the 15-day highs forecast, and let's just look at it. So you can kind of see, we've talked about this before, how we like to follow some of the cold and see if it creeps into the lower US or if it stays tucked into the north, in the Midwest, and then also the Northeast. But you can see some of this warmth. We've got 60s and 70s and 80s down the southeast. Now let's flip from that right here, and let's just quickly flip right to the 15 days. Right there. So what you can see is we've still got some 70s, no 80s, so there's just mild cooling, and we've got teens and even some 20s in Minnesota. And if we go back to number 1, we've got 0. So from 1 to 15 days, right now, we're seeing that it's warming up. We're seeing a little bit of cooling in Miami, but that doesn't matter because the difference between 81 and 79, 78 is nothing in terms of using natural gas. So it's not going to be much change in the southeast. So right now, things are looking as if we're going to cool a little bit. You know, you can see some of this dropping down. We're in the single digits, we're getting some zeros, and then that kind of clears out and we warm back up. And then, gosh, we're getting like North Dakota, Bismarck's going to see like the mid-30s, low 30s. It drops and gets a little cooler, but then it sort of maintains and then ultimately ends up being just kind of, yeah, mid-teens again. And there's that 27, 26 right in here in southern Minnesota. So not a lot going on. If we come back to the top though, let's look at the lows. Those were the highs we just looked at. Now some of the lows right now, negative 11 in the Bismarck area. Northern Minnesota is going to get negative single digits. It's going to get even colder, like we just saw on the highs. Now we're going to get negative 17 as the low. But then that's starting to kind of push out of the way, and now the lows are back in the single digits. So we warmed up, no more negative digits. And that makes it really easy to see when you look at the lows because the color change is so different. But yeah, there's no other problems with negative digits. So they're going to stay in the single digits. They're even going to see some teens in Minnesota. And the coldest we're looking at is basically day 2, which would be tomorrow. So that forecast is showing a big cool off, but that's not going to affect our price action because it's too close to the current day. If it were on the 14-day horizon, if this shows up on the 15-day forecast on the 15th day, say tomorrow or the next day, you can expect we're going to see a spike in UGAZ, a spike in natural gas, and that's where you're going to want to take your profits. So not a lot going on. The temperature, things are kind of the same. So it is what it is right now. We got to wait for that colder weather, but right now, I'm not sure where our bottom is going to be because we really don't have much more bottom, no support levels in UGAZ. So that's your weather. All right, everybody, hope that was helpful. Turn on your post notifications. We're going to get after it again tomorrow. We're going to continue to talk about these lows. We're going to follow the price action for tomorrow to see if we get any rebound and continued respect of that support level that we just pointed out. So stay tuned. Hope everyone is well, and we'll see you tomorrow.